Hi, it's me, Kenya.
Hey, it's me, Elliot.
This is our very first episode of The Fling.
Which is this podcast we've been thinking about doing, involving basically us reviewing a movie or film, basically something that has an iteration in another media or in another form of media.
Want me to take over?
Sure. You think I'm not doing a good job? Okay, fine. I was getting there. I'm building up some steam.
Yeah, a movie or TV show usually.
Want me to take over?
That's it. That one of us knows the source material for and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
So, for example, today we're going to be talking about The Road.
By Cormac McCarthy.
Sure. We both just watched the movie.
And I just, week 2 ago maybe, finished reading the book. Listening to, actually, on Audible. And
I don't know the book.
So we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about what we liked and didn't like, and the differences that I noticed. Specifically take a focus on, we thought that the movie did something better or worse, things like that. So, yeah.
Here we go.
Do you want to start with your overall opinion of the movie?
Fucking sad.
Sure. Depressing.
It was a sad movie. So I had already seen the movie
Uh-huh.
in high school at some point.
Gotcha.
And I will say that I liked it a lot better this time, probably because I'm way older.
What context did you watch it when you were in high school?
Just with my family.
Okay. I was at home with you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I didn't really get it then, and it was just like really long and boring. I thought it was way longer than it actually was today.
Yeah, today was pretty quick, actually.
It's like 2 hours.
Was it a whole 2 hours?
Uh-huh. No, almost.
It felt like an hour and a half. It felt pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the movie too.
Well, I didn't say I liked it.
Okay, well, that I shouldn't say too. I also thought the movie was sad, but I enjoyed it. It wasn't really my favorite. But I think a lot of that was because I think the book did a really apt job. So just to get it right out there, I thought the movie was a good adaptation. It was.
Yeah, was it a well-made movie? Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Good.
Did I love the story? Not my favorite story.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
But it's a good depiction of what it might be like to live in an apocalypse. So that's nice. But it wasn't like my kind of story. Like I wouldn't choose again to go back and rewatch this.
So I like what you said about a good depiction of what it's like to live in the apocalypse, because I agree, it's really accurate, and that sucks. And another thing I thought was interesting is that you said, did I like the story? It didn't really have a classic story arc. Like, there was no beginning and high point and end. Like, yes, in the movie, they start out with a flashback of the husband and the wife, basically, apparently the night the apocalypse starts. And I think they put a line in the movie that I don't remember in the books about basically, like, it was bombs going off. It was implied that it was exploding.
Oh,
like,
I didn't know that.
They didn't say it in the book, or that you didn't remember
I
that
didn't
in the
realize
movie?
it in the movie.
He said something about flashes of light followed by low rumbling, so I'm assuming that's nukes. Based on everything burning out and stuff like that.
Yeah, but there was low rumbling the entire time when all the trees were falling and
Yeah,
stuff.
that was all
And
earthquakes
it
too.
showed like a big old forest fire.
So maybe it was literally rapture, and I think that's important. It's not really important what necessarily caused this, except for, the whole point. The movie is all gray, right, and everything's dead. And in the books, they go into a little more detail about that. Basically, it's implied, I think, that they're in some sort of nuclear winter, or at least some sort of induced long-term winter, kind of like when the meteor hit the dinosaurs. And so there's so much soot and fog and smog in the atmosphere that the sun just never breaks through. Like, yes, you can tell the difference between day and night, but that's why it's so cold. Because in the beginning of this, he talks about how he thinks it's October, and in the book he says it may be later, but it's just always cold because the Earth is not heating well enough anymore. The sun can't break through.
I didn't get that from there. I noticed, obviously, that it was dreary and gray.
Mm-hmm.
But that was basically the extent of it for me. I just thought it was extra cloudy. Oh, like there's ash everywhere, sure.
Like a theme.
But almost. I didn't think of it as being like, okay, this is the world,
Yeah, so Mrs. Miller is going to appreciate that I was paying attention to this. Mrs. Miller was my high school English teacher, as a side note. And we read Gatsby with her, and one of her things was pay attention to the color, the green and stuff like that, money. And I pay attention to color a lot in the book.
My teacher told me that too.
Yeah, I think
Mrs. Pippin, you're not getting credit from me.
Mrs. Miller, you were pretty cool, but I think focusing on color is a pretty common theme in English classes, and I think
English film, anything
definitely, and everything in the story is gray, and they included a scene in the movie from the book, which I really liked. It was early on, where they wake up and there's that huge forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see on the dad's face, he's kind of like screwed up. Like, not he's screwed up, but his face is kind of screwed up in a weird expression. And it to me came off as like fascination. And in the books, that's how they depict it, because of course it's from the father's perspective, and so you get to hear his thoughts and stuff like that. And he says that the color of the fire stirred something in him, because he had not seen something so vibrant and so colorful in so long. That like, even though it was like this great destructive force and like kind of sucked, I mean, they were never even in danger, I don't think, in the book. It just...
It was pretty close in the movie. Like, close enough that you would want to run away from it.
Yeah, and I think it showed right after they left. And I think...
I didn't get any of that from the movie. I got, oh my god, that's a fire. We gotta get out of here.
Yeah, and so that's interesting, because maybe they didn't
they might have had him, like, act a certain way. It might have said, like, oh, act as if you'd never seen this color in a long time. But that's
didn't
not...
come across to you.
Yeah, I don't see people look like, oh, I haven't seen this in so long, you know?
Sure,
that's
definitely
not a thing in our world today.
I think that
where we live.
if they had really tried to show that in the movie, I think that maybe him smiling would have been, like, an okay way to show that, but it would have been weird,
But
too.
then it would have been like, oh, he's crazy. Gotta watch out for this guy.
Definitely. And I think that, I think that they couldn't have done that any better than they did. And there's a couple of the scenes in the book where he sees either things from the old world, but specifically to talk about color or the way it looks, and how it affects him. There's once where when he gets in a boat in the end of the movie, he finds a sextant, like an old brass sextant, and it's like worn where someone used to grip it and stuff like that, and so it I don't know, it's like a callback to human history and stuff like that, and exploration, what I'm assuming. And he says the same thing. It stirred something inside him. He saw this very well crafted device, and he was like, wow, that hits me right in the feels, basically. I think there was one other scene where that happened.
They kind of did go over the whole, like, wow, I haven't seen this in so long kind of thing a couple times, but it was always in relation to his wife. Like, he sees the piano, he breaks down crying, he flashes back to her playing at one point, he sees her hairbrush, he has, like, a weird flashback about them, like getting freaky.
Yeah. It was, like, a sweet moment, and then it was, like, a funny moment, and then he went so much further with the leg, and it got turned into a weird moment, you know? Like, he went knee, thigh, whatever.
I knew what was happening, because I remember that scene. I was like, oh, this is that movie? That doesn't seem right.
I didn't know.
Because I remember, like, that's a scene, just, like, a random scene that I remember, and I think sometimes to myself, like, yeah, remember that scene? What movie was that? And this didn't ever cross my mind as the movie that would have been.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going there.
He starts feeling her up in the theater. If that
I thought it was implied that he was being, sexy with her or whatever,
well,
but
yeah.
I just never thought he'd go that far, so it was weird. But yeah, so they never had that much flashbacking in the book. Something I have written down that I really wanted to mention, I guess, is that they did a really good depiction of the feelings of the wife in this movie, except for, like, one of the last things she says. So she's sitting there and she's saying, "I'm gonna kill myself. I want to take the boy with me. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would do it, except for the fact that you were here and it would, like, kill you. Yeah. Blah blah blah." I don't remember exactly how she killed herself. I feel like she shot herself. I feel like that was implied based on the fact that they had 3 bullets, but in the movie, they said they had 2.
In the movie, they only had 2, yeah.
So I don't really know. But and then that line about the cold was all she left, her, like, parting gift or whatever, that was in the book, too. So maybe
it seemed like it was
it wasn't exactly clear. And again, I don't think it's super important how she killed herself. But one of the things she said in the movie before she left, which it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, was, they're having this heartfelt goodbye, and her face looks so empty. Like, he's sitting there.
Yeah, it's not really a heartfelt goodbye. Heartfelt goodbye from his side.
Well, so yeah, he's having a heartfelt goodbye, and he's sitting there, and he's got his face on her, and, she's just done with it. You can tell. She's just, and in the books, when she's talking, she says, "Listen, I'm already dead. I mean, there's no reason for me to keep on going." Her thing is that in a world like this, where there's nothing to go on, there's no difference between being dead right now, you know what I mean? So why would I sit here and struggle? Because I'm going to die one day, and it's probably going to be horrible. And then in the movie, she's about to leave, and she says, "Take him to the coast. Try to keep him warm." And she, like...
No, she says go south.
Go south. I think she says go south to the coast. Try to keep him warm. Either way.
Well, so when she said that, for me, it rubbed me the wrong way because I knew he was not going south. He was going to the coast.
So I guess
And she might have said also go to the coast, but she mostly was saying go south, you need to get warm, you're not going to survive winter. And instead, he just decided to beeline it to the side first.
Yeah, I don't really know what the deal is with that. My point, though, is in the book, that's or in the movie, from what I thought her character was, that's completely out of character in that she doesn't give a shit. She even says, one of the last things she says to the father, the husband in the book, is, you can try to survive. I don't think you're going to be any good at it. Like, she kind of shits all over him, but not in like a being rude sort of mentality, like in a very realistic mentality. Like, good fucking luck.
There were a couple of spots, I don't remember right now, but I made a mental note of like, oh, I should bring this up later because that doesn't make sense to me. But one of the things that didn't make sense was when she was, they were flashing back before we knew for sure that she had killed herself. She's like giving the boy a bath or something, and she had already talked about wanting to kill herself. She'd already talked about wanting to leave the world and take him with her, and now all of a sudden she's like still just like caring for everyone, and that felt wrong. Yeah,
exactly. It felt kind of disjointed. I think they could have had one, maybe two scenes. I have the first scene with him preparing the bathwater, and that scene was in the book later, like when she says, "Are you taking a bath?" and he's like, "No, I'm not." I think he was saving water for what he assumed was going to be the apocalypse, which is interesting that he came to that conclusion so quickly. That scene, and then like the suicide scene, were all that was really necessary. And then that the scene where they're at the dinner table and the boys in the background and they're talking, that was basically the word for word her saying like, I'm done with this, essentially.
I thought it was interesting because in that scene he looks exactly as old to me as he does throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so they did. I don't think they even needed the boy in that scene.
Oh. Well, I couldn't tell if it was like... I assumed he was going to be way younger because we saw him being born and everything.
And then he turns around and he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. What I'm saying is I don't think they needed him in that scene.
Oh, no, they didn't need him.
Yeah, it seemed pointless. Like,
but that's when she went to go give him a bath and everything, too.
Yeah, and it was weird because, like, the father says, don't say this, and then he kind of, in the movie, gestures because the boy is here. But in the book, he's saying don't say this because, hearing her have zero hope is so disheartening to him,
Yeah, the thing that got to me the most in the flashbacks was how happy he was.
The father?
Yeah, he was always so happy
like the pre-war
and such in a good mood. No, both. Okay. And he was just like such like a glass half full kind of guy, and like, no, don't give up. And he was just like the sweetest little dad husband, trying to make everyone feel happy, trying to make everything better. And like you even see like shadows of that throughout the movie. Like he reads his son a bedtime story and like other things that he does.
No, and I get that, and then that.
But it was so sad in contrast to her being like, yeah, well, fuck everything.
Yeah, she's like this uber realistic, pessimistic as well. But in this situation, I think it is basically realistic person, and he. So okay, I want to talk more about what you just said about how he's got these flashes of like positivity and stuff like that. But first, I want to point out. I just blanked. Shoot, indeed. Well, I can move on to the flashes positivity thing. Yeah. So throughout the entire book and the entire movie, he's like living this dual personality with his son. He will go back from being like, "How you doing? I love you. Isn't that funny? Let's tell stories." To like
you gotta learn.
Put the gun in your mouth, blow your brains out situation. And I remember what I was saying now. And this is still topical. So he's optimistic, right? And I think one of the messages that was pushed in the book was that his optimism was kind of like a weakness for him. But at the same time, the optimism from the boy was like his strength. That was the fire they talked about. But like when the wife kills herself, it's not portrayed as like a weak thing, like she's giving up. It's portrayed as if she's I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just portrayed in a different light. Like she's making a good decision. Like you identify with her decision. She makes a very logical case. And they don't bring up that scene in the book until after they've seen some really fucked up shit. So that what the wife's been living with, And she says that scene where they're gonna rape me, they're gonna kill me, they're gonna rape him, they're gonna kill me or kill him. It's just you don't think she's saying this stuff because she's afraid of it. You think she's saying this stuff because this is what's gonna happen, and I'm going to choose the different option of that. But yeah, and I think that it's interesting because the father has to try so hard to give the boy this hope that he has, and then I think he's also just so unsure of it too, because like he has dreams in the book the entire time too about like colorful dreams and stuff like that and good times.
I mean, they kind of did that.
No, they did, in this too. And then at the end in the movie, something else it says in the book is that when you start having good dreams, it's like time. You should be worried, basically. So I don't know. I thought it's interesting that he has to toe the line so much. It kind of it kind of paralleled the fact that he had to toe the line for actual survival too. Like, you know, we have to be take risks but not take too many risks, and we have to be positive but not too positive and stuff like that. And I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. One of the things I didn't like was when they found that whole bunker full of food and shit. He just starts drinking and smoking. Drinking, sure, but he has a lung issue the entire time. He is coughing, hacking, coughing up blood. And he's talking about, I know this is killing me. I can feel it gets worse all the time. Whatever.
So why am I gonna sit here and smoke a cigarette?
Yeah, why are you smoking?
Yeah,
like,
and he immediately coughs after in the movie too.
Yeah, you're clearly trying to live longer for your son, but you're just making this choice to not only smoke like in his face, but also ruin your lungs that are already bad. So, like, he has that knowledge. He knows that smoking's bad.
Yeah, definitely. No, I don't think in the book he smokes. I think he just has drink. Also,
I mean, I get it. It's like the one scene where it's like, oh, remember all these human pleasures?
Well, yeah, but specifically about that, right after that he says a line, which he said in the book a couple times, but like this was I think when they worked it in the movie, was I must look like I'm from a different world than you, because he's sitting here and he's doing these crazy things, you know, that like seem so frivolous and ridiculous in this world they live in now, and they talk about how the boy looks at the father and he just doesn't understand some of the stuff he says.
Yeah,
you know, like there's a scene in this movie which I think they did a better job of depicting than in the book, where they're at his house, the dad's old house, and he's like talking about the Christmas tree and about
that's the other thing I didn't like, but keep going.
Okay, he's talking about the Christmas tree and talking about the stockings, and he's telling the boy that, and he looks at the boy, and the boy's like, cool. None of that means anything to me. I've never had holidays. I've never had Christmas. You know what I mean? So,
but what he said was, we shouldn't be doing this, and to me that didn't come off as cool, whatever. I don't get it. It came off as, this is something bad that you're doing, and I took it as, you just told me to forget about Mom. Why are you trying to reminisce about things from your past?
Yeah, I didn't take that angle, but that's a super good point too. You know, and I think that's the whole thing. The dad can't survive as well as the son can because he's not from this world. He wasn't born into this world. You know, and I think that's.
And me, as someone who is in this world, I'm thinking, poor kid, he's never going to have any good memories, you know? He's only been in the apocalypse.
Well, good as relative.
Yeah, but then also he would probably rather not miss those things. But one of the things that I didn't like in that scene is he is telling Dad, hey, we shouldn't do this. And the dad's like, fuck you, I'm going to do this, basically. And he's like, you want to go wait outside?
So, okay, yeah, right?
What?
So he says that.
What? The entire rest of the time, he's telling him, no, protect yourself, stay with me, don't go too far, oh, you need to take the gun, don't lose sight of the gun, basically sheltering him as much as possible, you know? And then all of a sudden, it's go wait outside by yourself, don't even worry about it.
So that seemed very abrupt in the movie.
Yes.
I totally get that, because the entire time, it's, like you said, stay with me, stay safe. And then he says, hey, just go hang outside. And it came off almost as cold in the movie, like, fuck you want to go wait outside, you little bitch? Whereas in the book, it's not depicted that way at all. Lots and lots and lots of the books are just quiet moments of them just walking. It's not constantly raining on them. It's not, it's not constantly being chased by people. Sometimes it's just them together. And that was a huge chunk of the book. And so a lot of times he says,
that's
wait.
a lot of the movie, too.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that a lot of times he says, wait here. That happens a lot. And it's not framed in a way of the boy's afraid. It's just framed in the way of, like, we haven't seen anybody in 6 days. You're going to be fine, you know? And like, it'll be good that you can watch the cart. Speaking of the cart,
wait, I have a question.
Okay, sure.
So in that scene where he's waiting outside, he goes and chases after a little boy. Is that the same little boy from the end of the movie?
I don't know. I don't
because they say that they were following them.
So yeah, and
which was freaky for me. But.
It's possible that it was, but here's something else I wrote down that I want to bring up. They did a lot of stuff out of order, like way out of order. Excuse me, and a lot of stuff fused. Like, they put a lot of scenes together. Probably to save time. But the scene where he's looking in his house happened way in the beginning, like in the first third of the book. The scene where he sees the boy...
So part of me was like, is this fucking guy for real? He didn't go south just so he could see his house?
So, I didn't really think of it that way. And in the book, they never really talk about, like, how the fact that he's going the wrong direction. He just says he's going to go south into the coast. And again, in the book, there's the wife saying, go to the coast or south. They don't even talk about where they are geographically, really. You know, they never even talk about how...
I didn't pay attention to where they were on the map. Where did they end up?
The orientation they originally had it looked like it was east. the coast was east of where they're going. But, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't remember seeing a legend or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. So I don't think, at least in the book, or hopefully in the movie, they were implying that he went out of his way just to see his house.
Well, that's what I was thinking, though.
Maybe
I thought, because it happened so late that they had already, I think, talked about the mom saying go south. And I had already had that thought, and I was like, really, you're doing this? And then I was like, the only thing I can think is maybe he thought that his parents still lived there, because clearly it's still all of his furniture and stuff. He spends enough time saying, this is where that was, and it's still there. And like, oh, look, here are my height marks. And if you're moving into that house, you're going to paint over that. That's not your kid. Those aren't your memories.
So you're thinking that he was actually looking to see maybe what happened to his parents? Like, actually his parents?
That's the only other reason I could have thought. Of like, oh, maybe my parents are still there.
So they never talk about height marks in the book, and they don't really talk about the furniture being the same either. It seems
he just spends so long on that couch, like looking at it and making it pristine again, flipping over the cushion so it's not dusty. That you wouldn't do that with a couch that was
not your couch.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like, oh, these other people moved in. Let me play with their couch. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's implied that it's still somebody who is related to was still like living there when it happened. And I liked that scene with him in the movie. I thought that was cool. I liked, you know, this pristine moment he takes, whatever, but not pristine. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I liked that. But yeah, I don't know. There was just some stuff out of order. Like the cannibal scene
Which one?
The one where they go in the cellar.
Okay.
That happened later, a lot later. And that kind of leads me to my biggest issue with the movie, which isn't a huge issue, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
So abruptly, early on in the movie, he says, use the gun to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And it seemed completely out of nowhere. It seems like he counts bullets. He says, one for you, one for me. Put it in your mouth to kill yourself. Like, let's talk about this lesson. Mm-hmm. And in the book, it's implied, all he says is just like I showed you. So that scene is just talked about, right? Mm-hmm. And then later, he reiterates that when they're hiding from the people.
Yeah.
And at first, when I saw that scene in the movie where he talks about the suicide thing, I thought, oh, okay, they're probably doing this because they think this is a good scene, but they don't have time, or for some reason they're not going to depict.
Well, it was a flashback. When they did it, it was clearly like a flashback, and then later, or they're like going into the house or something, or like being chased by someone, and he does the same thing, like just like I showed you. Was it a flashback? I didn't think that, because I thought they were still wearing all their clothes and stuff like that. Yeah, they're always wearing the same clothes. Well, yeah, but I mean, it wasn't that far of a flashback, but it definitely wasn't. It didn't look like it was in the exact same spot or anything.
Well, so yeah, either way,
because they did some weird cutting.
Yeah, there was some weird editing in this too. Which again is fine.
No, I mean just like right then.
Oh, in that actual scene. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which made me think that it was a flashback because it was treated the same way as those were.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but yeah. And so when I first saw that scene, I thought basically, okay, they're showing this now because they think it's important to show how desperate and how scared the father is and stuff like that, without actually having the opportunity to show that scene later when they're getting attacked by these people. And then they do have that scene. So I thought, why wouldn't they do it? And then in that scene, they're not hiding in the bathroom of the house. They run out like the back door and they hide outside, and they have to stay there overnight. And so I don't know why they chose to go in the bathroom when moments later they're outside and they stay in the ditch overnight. Well, it just seemed like
the whole thing was that they were coming into the house, so they couldn't leave, because then they would see them, and the only reason they got to escape was because the people escaped the cellar.
Yes, exactly, and I get that, but that seemed like in the book they see the people out the window from a distance, and they run out the back. In the book, they don't. The people are not near strong enough to even get out of the cellar. The weird jump scare scene where the guy jumps on him never happened in the book. It was just the.
They didn't seem that strong.
No, they didn't. But like, it just seemed like in that whole scene, they added a lot of extra stuff that wasn't necessary. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like weird that they had him hide in the bathroom. It seemed weird that they had him when they were gonna have him hide in the ditch right after that. It seemed weird that they had the people trying to bust out of the cellar when they already had a story written in the book for why it was saved. I don't know. I don't understand, I guess, what those changes did that made it better or more enjoyably filmable. Like, maybe that they got to have the bloody bathroom or something like that, but that just seemed, I don't know, pointless, I guess. It doesn't matter. Pretty
it just seemed,
minimal gripe.
I don't know. So the people weren't coming at the house?
They were coming at the house, but the point is
that seems like a logical thing. Oh, I have to go hide in the house because they're coming at it. I don't know the way out.
It was very clear.
They have guns.
Sure, but it was very clear that they went out the back door in the book.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, yeah, I'm not really sure. There was none of the climbing the window situation. I don't know. Again, pretty pointless. The whole point of the scene was to show the shock of people in the cellar, and then have that suicide moment again, and then that felt so diminished to me because it was the way it's. I think I talked to you about this before. Sorry about that. In that scene, the dad pulls the gun out, and I'm thinking, okay, he's getting ready to shoot these guys like he did earlier when they had that truck stop scene. They're laying in the ditch, and I thought, okay, cool. They're doing this again, and then he tells the boy to put it in his mouth, and that's the first time you talk about it in the entire book. And so that was so shocking to me because as I'm listening to the book, I'm expecting the next words out of his mouth to be, hold the gun and shoot the guys as they come. And then he says kill himself. And so, it was just such not my expectation and stuff like that. And so I
remember you telling me that too when you were listening to
it was one of the most powerful scenes in the book for me because it was so real of
whereas in the movie, they basically get that out of the way right away, and it's never this question of, oh, you might be shooting someone, you might be shooting yourself. It's always just, this is how you kill yourself, and then the entire rest of the movie, it's him trying to get the son to get ready to kill himself, and the son saying, no, I don't want to, and dad holding the gun to his head. Yeah,
it was weird. It seemed very anticlimactic, I guess. They seemed like they robbed that scene of a lot of tension. That would have been easy to do, in my opinion. So I don't know. It was a good movie. I mean, it was, from what I feel, pretty accurate, retelling. I was trying to see if there's anything on my list that I want to...
I have 2 questions.
Sure, go for it.
Number 1, we'll start chronologically.
Sure.
So they meet this old man, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
And he's blind and, a little bit crippled, having a hard time getting
around. Pretty squirrely, too.
Oh, Mako, don't squeak
Sorry,
your
that was our dog
please.
squeaking a bit.
Anyway, yeah, squirrely, whatever. 2 questions about him. Why is he spitting out his fruit? What's up with that?
I think he's, probably never had that much food in so long that he just, threw it back up.
And then their first thing is... Hang on, Mako's being a rascal. Then their first thing is, oh, come have dinner with us? That doesn't make sense. If his whole thing was that he just could not physically stomach that much food because he hadn't had it in so long, why would they then invite him to dinner? And then also, the kid is, trying to teach him how to eat. This guy's older than your dad. Obviously, he knows how to eat.
Yeah. So, no, I thought that was...
Well, get closer to the mic first.
Fixing the dog. So I thought that was weird, too. And, in the book, they have that... basically, from what I remember, that entire situation goes down without the old man spitting the food back up. And I think that maybe in the movie, the point of the old man spitting the food back up was to say, look, he's going to die anyway. But you're right. Why would, right after that scene, they say, come have dinner? They could have even worded
They didn't do that in the book, or they did?
They did have him say, come have dinner in the book. They didn't have him spit up the stuff either, right then. And I think the whole point of them asking to come have dinner after that
made me mad.
Was to show compassion.
We just gave you food and you're fucking spitting it
and then
up.
I'm going to offer you to have some more again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was odd.
And it didn't make sense to show compassion because the whole, rest of the film, they showed 0 compassion. Well, the dad did.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then, so he was talking about, oh, I used to have a son, but I can't talk about what happened with him, not with you. Does that imply that he ate his son?
I didn't really get that. And did he say not with you?
Yes. He said, I can't talk about that, not with you at least. And then he, gave him a look.
I think what mostly was saying, the way my son died was too... the fact that my son died was too close to what you're experiencing right now. I don't know.
Maybe. I felt like he ate his son.
Maybe. Maybe the thing is, you don't know, and it was terrible. And I think you being a viewer, are filling in the worst possible answer in your mind.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, second question. Sure. Do you have more to say about this old man first?
Mostly that he was, basically the same. He lied a lot in the book, more than he did here. He lied about his name, about the fact that he was traveling with people, because he said he was, and then it found out that he wasn't, and then he lied about everything, basically. He lied about his age, like he did in the movie, too, saying he was 90. And I don't know, the old man felt very, not people. And they had this whole... Well, what I mean by that is, he just didn't seem like he had any of that survival drive. And maybe he was crazy, too, a little bit. He was probably walking by himself, on the road for years and years and years. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I got that. He said that he saw the boy and he thought it was an angel.
So,
but, that's also because he was a kid.
Sure, but in that whole scene, they talk about the boy being God a lot in the book, too. And I don't know, it just... I've heard that Cormac McCarthy, the author of the book, it gets really big with his biblical references and stuff like that. And it was just weird, I guess, in the movie and in the book when they sit there and they talk about, he's God, he's literally God right now, and it's a shame that God has to walk around like this, and I don't know. I didn't particularly understand what they were getting at with that scene, except for that the boy is so important that he holds a fire.
Maybe
and he's like
hope.
Sure,
but I was thinking more like he's done nothing wrong to deserve this.
He's like innocent, basically.
Yeah.
Pure.
Like a Jesus kind of thing.
Okay, I can see that.
Without saying Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, second question. What's up with the people with no thumbs?
Yeah, I don't really understand that. They may have mentioned that passingly in the book. I think it just means that...
So when I watched this with my family, Eric, my brother-in-law, asked one of his friends who had read the book, and I thought that he had told us that it was something to do with, like, if you stole something, if you were stealing from people or something like that, or if you ate people, maybe. I think it was stealing, though, that they cut off one of your thumbs.
I don't really know. I mean, I just assumed it meant that they had rough living, but you're right. It was the fact that two people were missing. Was two?
It was one guy was missing two thumbs, and then the guy at the very end was missing one.
Was it
at least?
He only had one. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to say with that, but I'm sure there was deeper meaning, and maybe I missed it in the book.
Maybe it's a Bible thing, though, like you just said. Maybe it's like eye for an eye.
Maybe.
Tooth for tooth, hand for a hand, thumb for a thumb.
There you go. Bring it back home. Yeah, I'm not sure really what that was. Do you have any other things to say in your list?
I thought that it was I want to talk about the end, but that's it.
And I want to talk about the end, too.
I think it's about stealing, but I don't actually know. I didn't like the end. I hated it a lot.
Okay. Maybe I can help you with that.
I liked that the dad died.
Mm-hmm.
Because they told us he was going to.
Something to say about the dad dying.
Okay.
So, I like that the dad died too in the book. Not that it made me happy or anything like that, but I appreciated...
But it felt right.
Yeah, it felt right. It felt real. And I like that the dad's cough was presented so early in the movie and early in the book. It was almost like a Chekhov's gun. Like, to anybody listening, a Chekhov's gun is like when you see a scene in a film or movie or TV show or whatever, and they have a gun on the wall. Basically, it's like a rule of filmography that if you're gonna show that out there, the gun basically has to be used.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like a rule, but it's steadfast rule. But it's like it's a thing people tend to do. So if you ever see like a gun or something that seems like, oh man, I bet they'll use that later, keep watching. They probably will. And in this movie, his cough represented that for me basically.
Mm-hmm. And I remember him dying too. I didn't remember that he had a cough the whole time.
Yeah.
So this time when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's probably how he dies, right? And then it got worse and worse and worse. But like I said, I wasn't really in the right mindset to watch it as a kid.
Definitely. Probably not being so critical.
No. Yeah. So I like that he died. I remembered there being a dog. That was weird for me. I don't understand why there was a dog.
There was a dog earlier in the book. There was a dog.
And he was talking about dogs, too, so you knew that they were a thing.
Yeah, in the first
third
of the book,
But I just don't understand how dogs survived, but people are eating humans all over the place.
Well, dogs can eat humans, too. Like, dogs are scavengers, and they live off human refuse.
Yeah, why aren't we eating dogs?
We probably are. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that, it seemed ridiculous at the end of the movie that there was dogs. That was a dog. Cute dog. Happy to see it, but it felt very out of place. And in the early part of the book, that there was a dog, and it basically was like super emaciated, followed them for a couple days, and then just stopped following him, implying he probably died. I don't really know why it was in there.
Yeah. So at the very end, the boy gets taken by this family. Not taken. He decides to go with this family.
Taken.
But first, well, let me just talk about this family and the issues I have with them. They are just like superhuman people. They can just find all this food for all these people. Well, and like not eat humans, and they just stay off the roads, and they're all safe, and they can have a dog too.
So in the book, they meet a lot more travelers on the road than they do in this movie. They meet many other people who are kind of getting by, doing okay.
But they said stay away from the road.
Implying that if it's dangerous, and if you were just a lone little boy, it would be super dangerous as well.
Sorry, I felt like it was hard to hear there. You got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And it would be the most dangerous place because that's how people get around, People know the roads. Well, they have signs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maps and whatever.
So I think that, also
I just, you're so good that you can keep a healthy dog and you have all these bullets,
Well, your bench, so the dog seems ridiculous, right? But the benchmark is...
And 2 kids.
Yeah.
And, so, he's with this family, whatever. The mom well, both the parents are freaky, but the mom is like, we've been following you for a long time. We were real worried about you. I'm so glad you're here. Everything's gonna be perfect now, right? And then he looks at the kids and they're both just like blank facing him. Like, at least give me like a, yeah, these guys are good guys.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like happy music at the end, or like,
Yeah, I don't know.
It did come off a lot more sinister in the movie than it did in the book.
I wish, though, that it came off more sinister, and here's why. I wish that they would have left it with him and just the man. Not saying, hey, I have more kids, not saying, hey, I have a wife, with him, and one of his final things that he said to him, leaning down, saying, hey, are you a good guy? And the man saying back, yes, but there's no way for you to know that, basically.
You gotta take a shot.
You just gotta take a shot. And I liked that. There is no way to know, which is true. Either this boy's gonna go with him or not. I wish they would have left it open-ended. And even to the point maybe where we didn't know if he went with him or not.
So, maybe this will help you.
Okay.
The predominant theory for the ending of The Road, and also, I'm assuming The Road movie as well, is that that person wasn't real.
You, researched this or something?
I did. Is that this person wasn't...
Did he kill himself, the boy?
No.
Because he did grab the gun at the end.
The theory I'm talking about is that the boy was actually meeting himself. That this wasn't a literal scene, it was a metaphorical scene. And
but there was a family. Was there not a family in the book?
There's a family in the book, but the family is a scene later, and they don't talk about the husband again. And it's not like, and then 10 minutes later, I walked to the family. It basically talks about how...
So the theory being that he is that man, and that is his, wife and children?
Yes.
Oh.
As far as I know.
So, well, in the movie, though, you see the man the whole time.
Exactly.
And he's there with his wife and children.
Exactly. That seems too literal in the movie, in my opinion. But basically, that whole scene where he's talking to the man, because it's right after he's alone and right after his dad dies, is that he's grappling with his future. You're right, he does have the gun, and at that point, he could kill himself if he needs to.
That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah, and so...
I like that much more than how the movie ended.
Definitely. And so this person he's meeting, and so he asks him, are you a good guy? And he's like, yeah, let's take a shot. I don't think that's saying, are you a good guy? Oh, I don't know, I could eat you. It's saying, in the future, am I going to be a good person? We have to take a shot.
Or literally, I can't prove that to you right now,
But no, but in assuming...
the movie.
Yeah, sure. But so in the book, assuming that that's him, it's asking... Are you going to be a good guy? How are you going to live your life? And so I think, now that I'm thinking about it in the book, it does have a scene where it's kind of implied that he's actually with this group of people, and there is a woman there, and she's kind of like a mother and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think that once that scene happens with the guy, it kind of melds into a future deal. Something that I didn't like also about the ending.
What?
The boy sitting there talking to his father, and the boy says, I'll talk to you every day. Do you remember that? Okay. Mm-hmm. The dad tells him that at the end. There's this great scene where the boy's basically saying, I'm gonna miss you. I can't be without you. And the dad says, well, listen, you don't have to be without me. I mean, I have to be without you, but you don't have to be without me. You can talk to me every day, and if you listen closely, I'll answer you. Basically, it's kind of like a Lion King sort of situation, where he's like, oh, I'm gonna remember. You haven't seen Lion King, have you?
No.
Oh my God! All right. Well, that's for a whole different podcast.
Clear, I just gave Elliot a very
craziest
confused look.
Spoilers. Anyway.
Well, I know what happens. He dies, but I didn't think that they talked about it first. Doesn't he just get trampled or something?
No. But the fact that he talks to his father after he's dead, basically, he
has I didn't know he did that.
And not in a seance situation. He just
I've seen all the Toy Stories.
Anyway, and in the book, the father says, talk to me. He gives, in my mind, that was like a parting gift. The boy who's almost devoid of hope has the ability to talk to his father. Not that the boy didn't have the ability without that, but in this scene... It
felt like he was going to do that anyway. It felt in the movie like a logical thing for the boy to think when he was already saying, oh, let me thank these people for all this food we found in the bunker, and then he's just thanking no one. He's talking to the air saying, thank you, people, for
God.
This. Yeah, sure, whatever. He is doing it like he's praying, but... It seems like a logical thing that the boy could have thought up,
Yeah, sure. But I like the fact that the father says it in the book because it's almost like he started the conversation with him. And it for the boy...
because the ending in this, their goodbye, wasn't very good. It was just like, oh, son,
yeah, and
cry.
then in the book he wakes up and his dad's dead, but they have that moment of talking and stuff like that. And basically he tells the boy, you gotta go by yourself.
Because basically the last thing he says to him is leave and stop being so fucking generous to people. Those are the last messages he
says find the
gets.
good people, but he also says don't, you have to be careful
say that.
too.
Okay, yeah. But,
I don't know.
And then immediately he turns around and finds the good people.
Yeah, which at first was my thought too, but when I read that alternate ending idea, I liked that. And I think that, I don't know, in the movie there was a couple, the whole wife giving wishing the father well before she goes and kills herself, and a couple other scenes. It just felt so like they were trying to lighten up a movie that was this dreary, and it feels pointless because like you're not gonna make, like you're not supposed to take something that's so sad and so realistic and try to make it happier. That's not the movie you're watching.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It feels very out of place.
Yeah, there's no reason
Marco, chill out.
You need to do that, I guess.
There's not. Especially because, like, they do such a thorough job of having it be, like, no, everything's hopeless, everything's bad, you gotta find, like, little good things to live off of, basically. And then all of a sudden it's the perfect ending. It doesn't make sense.
No, you're right. I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of people have issue with the ending, and I think that it wasn't presented near as well.
Do a lot of people? Did you look that up? I mean, we just watched the movie.
I didn't look up anything about the movie, about that supposed ending. But yeah, I think that from what I read about the book's ending, because I was very curious about it too, I think some of the things I read, which again, this is like 3 Reddit threads I read, so this isn't exactly a consensus. Some of the things I read was that people necessarily were not into the idea of that ending until, of course, they thought about it metaphorically and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one scene...
But it's hard to think about this one metaphorically, unless it is supposed to be like him looking at an older version of himself the entire time.
Yeah, and they talk about how he's dressed the same too. They both have beanies on and stuff like that, and they're both wearing similar colored clothes and stuff like that. In the book, they talk about what they're wearing similarly too.
In the book, was he wearing his mom's hat the entire time? Because he was in the movie.
No, I saw that in the movie, and I liked that in the movie. And I thought that would have been a cool nod if the guy that he met was wearing the exact same hat too.
And did he have like the moment with his dad where he was like collecting all those things, and he was like, "Don't fucking touch my stuff."
No, that was weird. I don't know. And like the kid was.
There were a lot of weird moments like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't think any of the acting or casting or that stuff in the movie was bad. I just think that there's so much subtle personal interaction that is given so much credence. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
By the father's inner thoughts that obviously a movie can't do very well, and so I just think that it was something that probably didn't need to be adapted. I think that it was fine that they did. I think they did a very good job. I just don't think that it's as good as the book. So, to anybody listening to this, if you've gotten this far, go give the book a read. I mean, the whole thing is that one thing
we should have said that at the beginning.
If you're reading a review of something, it's full of spoilers. But something I thought of when I was watching the movie and reading the book is like it's kind of a spoiler-free novel and spoiler-free movie. Like, yeah, there's very heavy scenes, and sure, the dad dies, what a twist, but it's not a twist, because in the very first scene, his Chekhov's gun, or Kov, he says, I'm gonna die, basically. And what the wife's talking about, there's never any doubt that at least the dad is gonna die, and like, sure, there's suspense that the boy might die or might not die, but it's just, it's more about the journey, and of course, it's more about being on the road,
Okay, final thoughts.
Final thoughts on the movie or the book, or just the
For you, both.
I thought the movie was a good adaptation. I thought that they casted it well. I thought the boy was honestly even more easy to identify with in the movie than in the book. But maybe that's because I saw it equally from the boy's perspective.
Whiny to me. Yeah,
he's a kid, and children actors come off as whiny almost always. But he had reason to be whiny. So yeah, that's something else real quick I want to say.
It's just like... So, yes, children come off as whiny. Whatever. The thing that bothers me about it is that this boy was raised in the apocalypse. He was not raised as children today are raised.
But he was. His dad tried so hard to raise him in that way.
Yeah, but he can't do it fully. Like, as hard as you try, he never interacted with another kid.
That's true.
He got a story read to him, but he didn't play like other kids. He didn't socialize like other kids. He didn't have toys like other kids. He had some toys, but it's not the same at all. And his life isn't the same. He doesn't get to just be a kid. And that's like the whole like phenomenon of teenagers in like the recent centuries. Like the concept of a teenager wasn't a thing until we started all having school where we were all in our own little social group all day, every day.
Where we actually had the ability to explore
Whereas before, it was, okay, you're in the factory with everyone else. You need to act like it.
You're an adult.
Yeah, you're an adult. You're 6. You have little hands you can reach in.
Yeah, and so...
It just doesn't make sense that he is acting so much like I would expect
a real child
kid to act.
In the book, they frame it, in my mind, as the same way they framed the dad with the whiskey and stuff like that. This is the way the boy gets to have his own little personal rebellion, and this is the way the father gets to have his own little personal rebellion.
I guess.
yeah, it came off a little more whiny in the movie, definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what? You had to fit what I think was a couple-month journey into under 2 hours, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they did a good job.
I get it.
So yeah, final thoughts. I enjoyed the movie. I would recommend reading the book instead and before and watch the movie.
Instead?
Well, so here's the thing, right? A lot of the reason I think that you should watch a really good adaptation of a book as a movie or as a film or something like that is so you can visualize it and stuff like that, right? So you can see these characters brought to life with voice acting and nuances and all this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing really that you need described in the book. There's no vivid colors. There's no amazing scenes. It's just gray.
Yeah, but even like in the very beginning, he was like taking off a crusty sock that had holes in it, and he was hanging it up.
They
to
describe
dry.
all that in the.
I know, but I was thinking like this is so much more enjoyable for me to see. Oh my God, that's like a really sad sock. I would hate wearing that sock.
Yeah.
Than it would be for me to hear the details of, and it was a crusty sock.
So
you know?
sure, and in a scene like that, yeah, there was probably more of a impact. Mm-hmm. But look at the scene where they went to the bunker.
And I think that it really gets to you more when it's all you're seeing for 2 hours is just dreary. You know, and I'm not saying that it doesn't get to you more if you're reading it. I'm sure it sucks you in just as much, but I'm saying, like, as a viewer, I think that it did, like, a very good job of bringing me down.
Yeah. And I guess I can see that. But, okay, something that I don't think it did such a good job of, and this may have been because of the direction, or this may have been because of the fact that it was on film, when they find that bunker, it doesn't feel like the miracle it is in the book. In the book, there are so many scenes. The father finds rotten, dried out apples on the ground, and it is like, it literally saves their lives because he finds like 3-year-old apples that are just husks, and they eat them on the ground. They go through scenes like that where
you really don't see them be that hungry. They talk about being hungry, and you don't really see them eat a lot. And then they find this bunker, but you're right, it doesn't come off as like, oh my God, this is the best thing.
Yeah. So when they find the bunker in the books, and then when they finally have to leave the bunker in the books, it is such a insane relief and like it's not even real. They present it like it's actually heaven. It's not believable. So I don't know. I think that a lot of that was because of the first person perspective in the books. You know, that you get to hear the dad's emotional reaction. Talking about the books, because we're talking about the way things are framed, the narrator for the audiobook was so good. I do not know who it is, and I can look it up if you guys want. But
it's on Audible.
It's on Audible, and he just has so much emotion in these.
You're talking away.
He has so much emotion in these, in the way he talks. In the interplay between the father and the son. You really feel the heartache. You know what I mean? When he says he's sorry, his voice shakes. He's really sorry that his son can't eat tonight.
Good voice actor.
Yeah, no, he was just wonderful, and so I think he did a much better job than watching these actors actually do it in the scene. And that's not. I don't know, if Viggo Mortensen didn't have enough direction, or maybe he just didn't really, it didn't really feel like they were father and son either.
Yeah, and there were several scenes where it was like with the old man, he said, "Oh, is that your boy?" And he's just like hugging him off to the side, and he's like, "What? Why does it matter? Doesn't it look like it?" And he's just like not giving a straight.
It's almost
answer.
like not convincing. Like maybe I don't believe that yours actually his son.
Because in the beginning, it's very clear, like, oh, we need this baby. I love him so much, whatever. And then as it goes on, it feels like, maybe not so much. Maybe I don't love you that much.
Yeah, and then at the end, he drops that line that you have my whole heart, which is a crazy, because like in the book, they
do a good job of telling you he loves him, but they don't do a great job of showing that.
Which is weird because it's film.
But at the same time, like, I get it. It's probably hard to focus on your relationship when all you're trying to do is survive.
But in the book, you hear about the father's thoughts, and there's so many scenes where the father, he would do anything for this boy, even the hard things, even the things that would hurt the boy, even kill the boy. And at the end, for this boy, yeah, exactly. And in the end, when he finally says, "You have my whole heart," it's just like such a fully encapsulated statement of like, you have everything I've ever tried to give. You know what I mean? You are everything to me, basically.
Okay, out of 10, book, movie, adaptation.
Okay, so book, I gave it all 5 stars on Audible. 10 out of 10. I thought it was that good.
10 out of 10.
For what it was.
10 out of 10. You'd listen to it again. You'd recommend it to anyone asking.
I'd recommend it to anybody asking if they were a father or a parent, and if this was something that they believe they can handle, because it's incredibly dark source material, and some people don't like that stuff. Some people would not be interested in it. But I'd tell them I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good read.
Okay.
Movie, I thought it was fine. But if you're going to go out of your way to watch this movie, the book is like 6 hours long too. Or listen to the book. It's that much.
Not 2. The movie is not 6 hours long.
No, sorry.
2 hours long.
What I'm saying by 2 is that it's not
short.
that long. It's a short book, and you get the entire journey paced fine. I never felt the book drag or anything like that. Even there were scenes in the movie where I felt it dragging. Maybe because I had just read the book, but still.
Yeah.
Read the book instead. Movie's not bad. Fine adaptation. Not needed in my mind. It's so accurate that it's not needed. It didn't really lend anything else.
But as an adaptation.
As an adaptation, it's very accurate, but it doesn't have the same emotional depth that the book did.
Okay, so for me, just the movie out of 10. I'd probably give it like a 5 or 6. And that is partially due to the fact that I just don't generally like really dark things. Because I feel it. I was very sad right before we started this. And we went straight from watching the movie to doing the recording.
Yeah, this podcast is
51
minutes right now. We watched the movie 55 minutes ago, basically.
Yeah. And I was just like so bummed. And I was like, I need something to cheer me up after this. And it's just like a bummer of a movie. And I feel it too hard. I don't like that. And I feel whatever I'm watching or reading or playing, you know. So I like to play and watch and read happy things. Not always, but it's just because it gets to me. So mostly because of that, I think I'm docking it just like for personal. But I think that it was like a good movie. I think it was done well. And after knowing more about the book, I would maybe say, like, agree with you, like, yeah, okay, some of it wasn't that emotional and it should have been, you know? And I hated the ending and whatever. So maybe I would bump it to like a 6, 7, but even then, I think 6 would be as high as I would go with it.
Yeah. I agree with you there.
But I wouldn't say only read the book, only watch the movie or anything. The movie's fine.
But I would say read the book first. I mean, I don't think there's any adaptation where you wouldn't read the source material first, but you should absolutely read the book first in this, because I think the movie's going to rob you of a lot of the...
Yeah, so if you're really looking for the entire story, yes. If you're a person like me, definitely just watch the movie.
If you're not...
Because I have zero interest in sitting through 6 hours of sadness in any amount of time. I could listen 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I have zero interest in doing that for 6 hours and then immediately going and watching a 2-hour movie, you know?
So I would say that if you don't have interest in watching, in experiencing something like this, which isn't just sadness, I don't want what you're saying and what I've said to make it seem like it is only a sad fest. Yeah. Although it is a
But it definitely
hopeless,
is, that's the overtone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thoroughly.
Yes, sure, absolutely. But that, you know, that's not only what it offers, but that is its main message. If you're not interested in that, then this is not the book or film for you. You know, there's no reason if this is not a story that intrigues you.
Hopefully by this point you would have seen and watched, or read or watched the movie at least. At least done one of them, because I don't think we did a great job of saying, okay, first this happens, then this happens. We're diving in as if you had already seen or watched.
Sure, definitely. This is certainly not a chronological walkthrough.
Yeah.
So if you've watched the movie at this point and have not seen the book, or read the book, do it. If you've read the book at this point and haven't seen the movie, go ahead and do it, but I'm going to tell you, you're not missing anything. The movie, in my mind, did not add anything that the book lacked. Or it didn't trim any fat. It's a very streamlined book. Like I said, 6 hours. I don't know how many pages that translates to, but it's gets you in and out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have much to say.
Me either. We're going to try and do a podcast similar to this at least once a week. It might be another Fling, where one of us knows something, the other one doesn't. Or it might just be us talking about a movie or TV show we like, or it just might be us talking.
Anything. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want us to explore
let us know what you think. Let us know if you thought anything. Let us know if you know anything about them thumbs. Really.
Yeah, real. Let's get these thumbs answered. If you guys want us to read, watch, talk about anything else, please also...
if you have ideas.
Let us know, because we are ravenous media consumers. And I think the next podcast we're doing, I'm pretty sure, is going to be Scott Pilgrim. which is
over.
quite a change from It and
Yeah, I'm glad to be doing something.
and The
happier,
Road.
really.
So hopefully that's gonna be.
It's like the opposite of our Let's Plays. We're doing Splatoon and Mario, and then Dishonored.
Yeah, whereas
But
now we're
Liz,
doing
we're doing
two
it,
set.
Yeah,
The
two
Road
sads
and then
a happy.
Yeah, so we're getting a nice balance. But anyway, catch you guys later. Thanks for listening. And I guess that's it. Bye.
Bye.